Hey everyone, welcome to Headspace. This is the live stream that we do every single Wednesday. And we invite people that are fascinating, people that are growing in growth mode, that they're changing the world, people that inspire us, basically, across all kinds of areas, industries, and expertise. So today, I'm very excited to introduce you John Hoyt, who is part of my Xponential coaching group. And I've observed John come in, and I've known John for a while, so I've observed John come in, change, transform, find new ways, and I really wanted to sort of pick his brain and essentially discuss almost like a case study of how to grow, how to change your life, how to go from point A to point B in a very specific way. So after the bumper, we're going to bring John on stage, but before we do, I want to ask you to subscribe, give us some love online so we can grow the channel. All right. Thank you so much for being here. I appreciate it very much.
Thanks. It's great to be here. Great to talk with you more.
So as I said, guys, John has been an incredible member of the Xponential tribe. And I love, John, that you came in with such focus, such intention. And because of that focus, intention, and faithfulness to the process, you've seen some amazing things happen. I want to hear about that. But before we go there, I want to ask you to tell our audience of your background. Okay, you are a fascinating guy. You've done a lot of things, lived all over the world, and so I want you to give us a high-level backdrop to the changes and transformation that we're gonna dive into.
Sure, thanks. Yeah, so I've been part of nonprofits and faith-based organizations for many, many years. I lived overseas in Santiago, Chile, where I actually met you, Christian.
Yep.
Lived in Brazil, and also lived in China. And with that, I served in Christian ministry, which was great. Also worked for a startup software company. Now I've moved more into the nonprofit space, working with a small think tank in DC, working on kind of international development programs and building better cities throughout the world. So I've had experience over a couple different continents, a couple different languages, and now I'm here in DC and looking forward to moving forward.
Fantastic. Yes, exciting. You have an exciting backdrop, I must say. And when you came in, give me an idea of where you were at professionally, emotionally, family wise, and what was sort of the impetus. What was the reason why you reached out to me and said, I think you might be able to help me.
Sure. So I came into the program late 2023, and I think 2023 was really a year for me of a lot of mind changes, a lot of growth. Throughout the year, I was struggling some in the financial aspect of life, struggling some in the sort of professional aspect, really trying to figure out where am I going from here. I was able to move from being overseas for a number of years, and then in 2020 moved back to the US. And I think there got a little bit lost in terms of my career, where I was trying to go with life, trying to take care of my family, which is great. But I just felt like I didn't have sort of the guidance that I needed. I was reading a book about growth, and one of the main things that the book said was you need coaching, you need accountability in your life. And right about that same time, I happened to see an article about your program, and I was like, this could be a great aspect of coaching. He could be a great coach for me. So, reached out, and that's how I got started.
Awesome. Well, thank you. Thanks for sharing that. And what I want you guys to hear here is we all have seasons in life. We change, the world around us changes. We evolve, and these turning points are marked usually by this deep sense of dissatisfaction. Something's out of place. Something is not there. Something that we aspire to is not here yet, or is not here anymore. And those moments are just signals in the same way that your body sends you signals of pain, basically saying, hey, you need to pay attention to this part of the body. Your life sends you signals of emotional pain when there's disharmony and some sort of, does that sound appropriate to what you were feeling?
Yeah, definitely. I think as I was looking back over it today and just considering where I started, I was pretty frustrated, feeling not really completely depressed, but just without a lot of hope, not really seeing a path forward. And I think that's one of the reasons why I reached out, was because I felt like I need someone to help me get out of where I'm at, because I'm not able by myself to figure out kind of the steps forward the way that I need to go. And so I felt like, yeah, something has to change. I have not figured it out. And so I need someone to help me to take a step forward.
Exactly. So basically, what you're saying is emotional pain of, okay, I'm not depressed, but I'm dissatisfied, and I think maybe slightly disoriented. Right? I think you mentioned,
Yeah.
I just don't know where the direction that I need to go, and where do I get help, and how do I fix this? Is that accurate?
Yeah, exactly. I read a bunch of books, especially in 23, and many of the books had said, oh, you need help, you need coaching, you need this, you need that. And that's good, but sometimes it's almost too many voices, right?
Yeah, that's
So
true. Yeah,
being able to find sort of one voice and kind of one path was helpful. I think one of the other things I'll just point out is that we share faith in common, and that's a really important piece to my life.
that's
And I
right.
think it was very encouraging to know that my coach would also share the same sort of faith foundation there that I have.
Yeah, and I think for me, it's really important as well. And whether you are a believer or not, if a spiritual person or not, when somebody comes in, I basically say, look, modern science actually points to what ancient wisdom already teaches. So you may not come from a faith background, but it's really healthy, I think, to just be curious enough to go, why is this completely cutting edge, completely secular study show something that's been taught to us for 2000 years, for example? Right? It's not a coincidence. All right, so it's really cool to be able to see it. And if you do have a spiritual dimension, I really think that's actually one of the key components to success. Even if somebody comes in and says, I don't have one, I say, look, at the very least, be open to the possibility that there is the divine out there, and that you have a divine spark in you. Can you be open to that? Right? And I think that's a really important starting point,
Definitely.
because it speaks to your identity. It speaks to how you think of yourself. And we don't really aspire, sometimes, just because of our low self-esteem. And low self-esteem has to do directly with identity, right? Who are we? Why are we here? Where are we going? What's the point of this whole thing?
Yeah, exactly. I think when I came in, I really lacked a sense of clarity. And I'd actually done some study about it, done some thinking about it in previous years, and wasn't able to, at this point in my life, figure that out. I'd done some journaling, I'd done some trying to, measure things and think about my personality. But even so, even having understood some of those things, I wasn't able to see the way forward and gain that clarity. And I think through this program, and we'll maybe talk about it more, but I've really been able to develop a much stronger sense of who I am and a
Hmm.
way to articulate that I feel
Yeah.
like has given me a lot of confidence, because I just wasn't able to see how the pieces fit together by myself. And through going through some of these exercises, the pieces really came together, and now I see them like, okay, this is who I am, this is what I can offer, this is what I can bring to the table.
Awesome. So give us a step by step. And maybe it could be chronological. It could be, oh, this had higher impact on me. Whatever you think it's appropriate, just to give people an idea, who are in the same spot, right? Disoriented, perhaps. There's a turning point. They lack something. There's a sense of dissatisfaction. Okay, what's next? What's the first piece of the domino that could fall, that can actually cause a domino effect in your life?
Yeah, I think the first one I would say is get moving. I kind of mean this in two ways. One is actually just go outside and go for a walk. It's a very small thing. Christian talks about this and just how, our bodies need to move, and that really helps with dealing with stress and also being able to kind of get the creativity flowing. So I started the program. That was one of the first things I tried, and for the first like 2 or 3 days, I just went outside and went for a walk for like, I don't know, 15, 20 minutes. And during those walks, it was crazy how much I was able to kind of look around, notice that there's beauty all around me that I wasn't being able to see from inside my house or my office. Then I was able to think about new ideas and come up with things that I wanted to do, to try, things that I just hadn't considered in the past. And so that's the first thing, was just get moving. That's a really small thing, but sort of a very important thing, I think, also. Then I think a second piece was getting around some people that are able to give you some good feedback. I have some great friends where I live, and I'm able to get their feedback in my life, but I was feeling like I needed a different group of people that were going to be able to call me higher and provide some new insights. And I really was able to get that, I think, through the coaching program and just being with some different people on a week-to-week basis. They were also striving for the same things. I was able to get their insights into my life. And so that started helping, as I was able to kind of share my own struggles in a community that I felt like was open to hearing that, willing to hear that, willing to spend the time with me to listen, but also willing to give some good feedback and not just say, oh, it'll be all right, or give these kind of pat answers that we sometimes get. So getting around some people that are kind of thinking the same way. I
Yeah.
think a third aspect that I really
Can I
appreciate.
can I make you pause it for a little bit? Just put a pin on this because I want to sort of not for our audience to not miss the whole idea of community and tribe, because when we do our coaching, we do cohorts, and it can be one-on-one and cohorts or a hybrid of both. But the cohorts are really important, not because of just people saying, "Okay, well, I feel what you feel," but people have actual incredible insights in real time when we have these meetings, and there are sort of 5 to 7 people maximum, so it's fairly intimate. I just love that people have. It's not just my voice; it's the voice of the people that are on the journey going together essentially, and they can show compassion, they can sort of empathize, but they also have incredible insights in real time, and I've seen this over and over and over again. And the other aspect of that is when there's this group discussion, sometimes somebody will mention something that you might be feeling but haven't really crystallized yet in your mind. So when somebody brings that up, you go, oh my gosh, me too, right? And can you unpack that sort of experience of sort of tribe, cohort, group
Sure.
growth,
That was a,
basically?
a really positive aspect that I was able to enjoy a lot. I think one of the things was coming into a group where I felt like people are willing to listen to me, and like you said, being able to share their insights and also share struggles. Like it's great because kind of one week, maybe I would share something, and either that week or the following week somebody else would share something. Maybe, let's say, for example, a struggle in career or in a business that they're working on. And I was able to say, wow, okay, this person, even though their life in some ways is not like mine,
That's
they're
right.
also struggling with the same thing. And like you said, it really produces a lot of empathy and just a lot of feeling like, wow, that's great. It's encouraging that they're struggling, but they're also looking to see victories. And I think being able to share those wins together, even if just we kind of at the beginning share some quick wins or good things from the past week, and it's really encouraging to hear what are good things going on in people's lives, whether it's with their kids or their family or their business. And then also, yeah, just the idea of different insights into our life and being able to say, you said this, but let me highlight this aspect. And sometimes that's
Yeah.
challenging. Sometimes it's not necessarily comfortable, but it is, I think, what we really need to be able to grow, is to hear those insights. And then a third thing just related to that I really appreciated was the opportunity to share some things out loud. I feel like I'm kind of an introvert, and so I tend to sort of live inside my head a lot. And I noticed that when I would write something down, there was a power in that, but then there was even more power in sharing it out loud. I think one of the most powerful experiences that I had in the program was being able to read something that I'd written to my earlier self. And just I had written it previously and read through it a number of times myself. But then when I shared it with the group, it was just very, emotional, meaningful, amazing. And I think that was one of the real turning points for me in helping me accept where I've been in the past and
That's right.
where
Yeah.
I'm going in the future.
Yeah. I'm so glad you brought those things up, because I think we underestimate that we are wired for community and we're wired for belonging. And we can be living in a Washington D.C., the center of the political universe of the U.S., with millions of people, and be still isolated and not connected in a way that would help us just flourish and grow. And so creating an environment where you actually open up and flourish. We were wired, I think, for this community connection and depth of conversation and empathy. And if we don't experience that in our lives regularly, we're missing out on our own growth. I think so. Sort of modeling that in the cohort is a huge part of what we do, basically.
Yeah, and that's even kind of spread into other relationships outside of the program. I have some couple guys that I have lunch with from time to time, and I feel like I've been able to contribute more and sort of change the dynamic a little bit of those meetings, even because of what I've experienced in the program. I also have some other people that I mentor from time to time, and I get together and actually use some of the things from your group to help them in mentorship, and saw some good results also. I think, just like you're saying, we really need those communities of support, of sharing victories together. I feel
That's
like
right.
many
Yeah.
times, even with people that can be spiritual, it can be easy to come together and sort of woe is me or woe is the world. We all see the challenging things, the bad things going on around us, and that's fine. That's reality. But even at church, sometimes we need to be able to share victories and look at the good things that are happening. And so I feel like by learning to do that in one area or environment, I've been able to bring it into other environments and
Exactly. Yeah.
encourage other people, lift up their vision as well, in a different area.
Great. Well, let's move on and to the next thing you wanted to mention. Sorry, I interrupted you.
No, that's okay. Yeah, so I think confidence was kind of the next piece that I was going to mention, and just being able to, through some of those assignments and through talking with the group, really come to a better understanding of who I am, and that has value. And by hearing the different stories in the tribe, I feel like I was able to see that everybody has different stories and different experiences. Some have gone through really difficult challenges, others maybe not so much. But what I saw was I'm able to be confident in who I am and the things that I've gone through, and that there's value in that. And that even some things that for me were not that amazing, as I shared them with others, I saw, oh, it has value, it has importance to other people. And so that really gave me a new found sense of confidence that I would say for about 10 years, I really was lacking that and feeling insecure about sort of the background and my career trajectory and those kind of things. And now, as I'm looking forward, I see there's great value in what I've experienced, and I'm going to use that and take that forward. And wherever it fits is great. And whatever happens in the future, I'm going to use those things to the maximum.
It's absolutely true, and I think what you're mentioning is 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 very human, and it's very normal for us because the things that we've experienced are so familiar and so normal. Even the capabilities that those experiences gave us are normal for us and ordinary even. And then what we don't realize is that they're actually extraordinary in very specific ways. And if we don't tap into that and don't fine tune our self esteem, our understanding of the value that we bring, the assignment we've been given, why we're here, what we can do to enrich other people's lives, how we can change the world, we essentially leave all of that potential on the table and unfulfilled.
Mm.
And to me, that's one of the greatest tragedies is when we as men and women just leave potential on the table, and what we're doing is we're underserving humanity essentially, right? And that's just really sad. So when you are awakened to who you truly are, and you understand that you are not ordinary, that everybody is extraordinary in one way or another, and okay, then the next step is, okay, how does that serve in a very practical way that can move me, my family, my career, my impact in the world further? Can you talk about that part, about the sort of the connection point from confidence being elevated in a significant way, which already changes dynamics because you
Mhm.
show up confident in meetings and interviews, in with your boss, with your team, things change. Your investors, your partners, wherever space you're in. So from confidence, what was the next step that you felt was taken that was amazing?
Yeah, I think that next step is still being written, to be honest. But in the past couple of weeks, as I feel like I've said, okay, I'm confident. I have these skills. I'm going to go forward. I'm going to put myself out there. And there's been a couple of opportunities that, as I said, happened out of the blue, which really the truth is they don't happen out of the blue, right?
They don't.
It's
Yeah.
people reaching out to me and saying, hey, what about this possibility? Or, I reached out to somebody that I was looking for some information from, wanting to say, hey, what about this thing? And they actually said, well, what about this completely different thing? And so I don't know where those things are going to go yet. I have to follow up with you, a couple weeks or a couple months, whatever. We'll see where it goes. But I feel like that confidence, one, to put myself out there, to send an email, to say, oh, I am looking for this, or I am seeking that, really opened me up to things. And then just other opportunities that I think weren't on the table before come onto the table. And so that's really been amazing to see. I don't know like where it's going, but I'm excited about it.
Well, it's going somewhere and it's going to good places because they're
Yeah.
not those opportunities are not going to stop. That's sort of the magic of this thing is I actually do remember the first week you joined in a cohort. I basically said, John, I just want you to know things are going to start popping up in your life out of nowhere. Remember that? And you were like nodding and going, sure, that's great. You know?
Didn't believe so much at that point, but yeah.
No, yeah. So, and I do think it's sort of I don't think it's necessarily, it could be supernatural to a degree, but I would say you show up with a different level of curiosity, clarity, joy, or sort of even your neural circuitry starts working at a different level, and it attracts people, opportunities, and even the things that maybe the opportunities and the people and the choices were already there in front of you, they would show up. And because of the place you're in, you don't recognize, you don't see it.
Mhm.
So just a raised awareness is a big part of this, I think, in the theory. And then how you show up, how you interact with people. Success in life, to a large degree, is how you show up with other people. We are communal beings, right? We belong in community. So when you show up with a different level of energy, curiosity, generosity, love, all of those things, it just ripples in ways that sometimes are surprising to us because we're just not used to it
Mhm.
yet. But if you maintain that state of awareness of a higher way of being, I think you start getting used to the ripple effect happening over and over again, which now reinforces your confidence, because confidence is based on progress. It's
Mhm.
not based on just a feeling. You're confident because good things are happening in a pattern.
Yeah,
And then
exactly.
the more good things happen, the more opportunities you take, the more other things happen, the more opportunities you take, and then confidence sort of builds from there.
Yeah.
So, what I wanted to ask you is this: the other thing that we address, on top of sort of the immediate tactical things that can change everything quickly, is sort of this long arch of life, right? And and we talk about this very simple tool we use called Xponential radar, which is a 7 dimensions of life that we self-evaluate, monitor, work on, accountable about. So tell me about how that radar tool, which is so simple to use, has sort of influenced your journey as well.
Yeah, definitely. That's been something really great. And it's really so at the beginning, basically, you kind of rate yourself on these 7 dimensions, and it's 1 to 5. And at the beginning, I started with a sum of 22 for my 7 categories, which was a couple of twos, a couple of threes, no fives in any category. And, really not a great place is where I was kind of feeling. And then now I've moved it up to a 30. So, 8 points moving up. A couple of those have moved into 5 categories where I feel like, man, this area of my life is really going well and really seeing progress. Some of the other areas, it's sort of 4.5 or 5, somewhere, kind
Yeah.
of bordering on that real success. And yeah, I think one, that's been really good to look back and say, wow, I've made some significant progress. I think two, that really provides a great sort of measuring tool to use week by week to build in these small changes that lead to the big changes. Because I feel like sometimes throughout the week, I would go and I would say, man, I'm not really achieving anything, right? I don't see, my finances, for example, changing exponentially in these 3 days. And I get discouraged. But
Yeah.
then I would look back and I'd say, wait, but I have taken these steps and I see this other area moving forward. I've, I've spent time with friends. I've had some more fun with my kids. I've moved in these other areas. My fitness is better. And I think that encouraged me to keep going on those steps, keep taking the steps and not get discouraged. And I think one of the things that related to that, I feel like has been important is the idea of building systems that are going to continually help you over the long run. Because obviously, in 8 weeks, you can make significant changes, but then if you don't maintain them somehow, things might go back. And so, what I feel like is, especially the radar, has helped me as a system that I've now built into my life that I'm looking at on a constant basis, making sure across the board I'm trying to attend to these different areas of my life. And that's really helped me to, I feel like that's going to help me for many years to come to maintain this progress and not just kind of, change a few things quickly, feel better for a couple weeks and then go back to normal.
I feel like the quote that we repeat it almost like a mantra is that you don't really raise to the level of your aspirations and your dreams and your goals, you actually fall to the level of your systems. And that's part of the reason why most people just don't get to the aspirations, right? So this philosophy and approach and discipline about investing in systems that give you the incremental changes that are actually daily, it's just hard to it's really hard to overestimate, honestly, just the effect of it. And I'm honestly so excited for you because, quite frankly, it takes sacrifice, it takes discipline, it takes patience, persistence. Anything that will profoundly change our lives, it's at first hard, then it's actually super messy because it's confusing, like what you mentioned. I don't know if I'm going. That's sort of the messy middle, they call it, right?
Mhm.
And then it becomes glorious because you can start seeing transformational change on the back end. And the studies actually show that the part of the reason why the program is 8 weeks. Actually, I'm beginning to think of making it a 9 week program because the studies show that between 8 and 9 weeks is the learning curve for establishing completely new habits, basically. So that length of time is super crucial and important because that's the hardest stretch, basically.
Mhm.
And I think part of the reason why it's good to be in the group together, just because you go through the hard part, to the messy middle, and then you start coming out of the sort of glorious changed self, and then you can either join the mastery group or you can just go on your own. But you have the habits already, you have the systems.
I'll be honest, around week 4, I was really like, I don't know if this is worth it. I've learned to go out on a walk and journal a little bit, but really? And so, yeah, I definitely had my moments of question marks. And I think that the radar check and just being able to meet together on a weekly basis really helped me to see that there was progress being made, even when, in certain areas or in certain ways, I didn't feel like I was actually making that progress. I could look back and say, no, but I have actually moved this. I've moved this area. I've worked on that thing. And so that was super helpful. So yeah, 8 weeks, 9 weeks, something around there seems important.
It really does. And the incremental change and the devotion to the small steps and systems, it's just not glamorous, man, but
Mhm.
it really isn't. And it's not magical either. It's just really hard. But then something happens. And I think the beauty of even observing your journey is I can see the joy in your eyes. I can see the energy. I can see the confidence. And you would just send me a text like, hey, I just did this move and I haven't been this confident in the last decade. Things like that. That's a major statement. It's really exciting to me. And just even how it affects your family as well, because it's not just work. I really don't believe in career coaching. I believe it's in integrating coaching, right?
Mhm.
It's life and career. Your life can't be separated from your work. It just doesn't work that way. That's a myth, right? Can you tell me a little bit more about how you feel? Maybe and I think you came in as a very high probably your highest was your family life. Obviously, you had skills already and training, and you're in a good place. But has there been any changes on the family side from this?
Sure. I'd be happy to share about that. I think interesting. I was looking at the radar and noticed that even that wasn't a 5 when I came in. And I think that was because of some of the other areas were kind of pulling away from the joy that could be there, right? If I was with my kids or my wife, but I was thinking about my job or my finances or other things, then I wasn't fully present to be with them and to enjoy them fully. And so, yeah, I think with the radar and being able to um, work on these things, I've been able to share some of the ideas with my family. I think that's been really helpful. Was able to share one of the aspects with my wife. One of the things that we talked about in our cohort, I didn't share the details of what somebody said, but just the general idea was able to share with her. And that was able to help her in taking a step in her job. And so it's overflowed to her. I've had some ideas with my kids about different things to do that I might not have done in the past, just in terms of having fun with them, going out and sort of experiencing things that I might not have been thinking about. And so, yeah, it's definitely overflowed to bring joy to my family and people around me.
Awesome. Well, so tell me, as we wrap this up, tell me, what are your aspirations in life? Why do you feel like what kind of impact do you want to have in broad strokes?
Yeah, it's a great question. I feel like I've already been able to do a lot in my life. And in this phase, I want to see how I can continue to expand that. And so, one of the big aspects of my life has been just living internationally. And I'm really looking forward to figuring out how. I think part of what happened with COVID and then my move back to the US kind of stunted some of my dreams and hopes there because I just felt like, I don't know, the world's closed and you can't travel around, stuff like that. Obviously, things have changed in the recent months since then, but I think I'm beginning to dream again of how can I use what I've already lived and share that with other people in other places. Especially part of my journey, I was able to learn Spanish and learn Portuguese, and so part of that, I really would look forward to working or doing something in Latin America. I think there was one of the opportunities that I mentioned that I'm not sure where it's going to is in Brazil, talking with a friend, and he kind of brought up something that I hadn't been thinking about. And so we'll see where that conversation goes. There's other possibilities. I know you and I have talked about Mozambique and how that might be a possibility. And so I think that's my big hope is to just have an impact internationally. And I feel like I'm really on a good path to being able to do that. I don't know exactly how it's going to work out right now, but I feel a lot more confidence in saying, hey, this is what I can bring to the table. This is what I can do. Let's talk, let's figure something out and see where it goes.
Awesome. Well, brother, I so appreciate you coming on and sharing this, not just for the sake of just saying, oh, this is a good program, but for the sake of really saying change can happen, and your
Yeah.
aspirations, don't give up on them, and your dreams can come true. And if you just focus, if you just commit, if you just move, get moving, in your words, right?
Yeah.
in the, not only in the physical sense, but in an actual action sense, things change just dramatically and transformationally, and it's in a matter of weeks, and it's just a change of trajectory. It's just the beginning for you, and I'm just so excited to see where this takes you. And I've been tremendously inspired by your devotion, how detailed you were throughout, how you didn't give up, which was, there's always a temptation somewhere halfway through, right? There's the messy
Yeah.
middle. You didn't give up. You kept going, and you voiced your doubts, your question marks, almost like these sort of blocks, very appropriately quickly, and reached out, and I was able to serve you because I knew what you were struggling with, and I could sort of micro guide in small ways. But I think your character is the biggest part of this whole thing. The framework is just the framework. The framework is useless without character. The framework is useless without a dream and an aspiration of going somewhere. It's useless without somebody who gives his or her whole heart. So to me, it's a privilege just to be able to present it and guide people and help. But the whole goal is to see something like your story, basically. So I'm really grateful for the opportunity to serve you this way, and thank you again for sharing your thoughts and your journey with us.
Thank you. It's been great. And I would just echo the thanks back. I feel like this has really been, you mentioned changing the trajectory. And that's how I feel is that this small bit of time here will be something I look back on and say, this changed my life. This changed the direction that I was going. And I'm grateful for that already. And I'm going to be grateful for it for many years. So thank you.
Awesome. All right, guys. Well, you heard John. Do something with your dreams. Don't give up. Get moving. Thank you for watching this. If you're still watching this, give us some love online, wherever you're listening or watching this. Spread the word and get moving.